Welcome to the Coaches Preview Show. I'm Darrin Joins, Williamson County Schools Athletic Director. I want to welcome our very special guest today, Coach Matt Kriesky. Coach, thanks for being here.
Appreciate you having me on today.
Little different setup today, Coach, so no pressure on the two of us. There's only two of us today, so it's going to be a lot of talking for both of us.
Probably won't get much from me, but we'll see how it goes.
Well, and I do want to, you said you wanted to mention a shout out to somebody that might be watching live right now.
I hope John Wild and Jimmy McDowell both watching and critique us a little bit later on.
I bet they will be.
Yeah.
Coach, let's get right into it. Obviously, you got a game with Smyrna this week. That's why we don't have another coach here. And we're obviously not going to get the Smyrna folks on here. I mean, this is a Williamson County show, man. We're not doing that. So we're going to talk everything Centennial football. Going to throw in some general athletics kind of questions for you. You guys may not know that Coach Kriesky also has duties as an athletic director, which, by the way, some people might think you're just sitting around watching games. That's not the deal, is it?
No, I was dealing with some things before I left school today. There's always something going on, something you got to do, either the athletic side or dealing with parents or administration. Just it keeps you busy. I mean, you know how it is, and there's always something needs to be done and taken care of.
Absolutely. All right, let's talk about last week's game. 49-21 opening season loss at Ravenwood. The Raptors started out, quick strike to start the game, Garcia to Mason. Then on your first possession, was that a 3-and-out?
Yes, sir, it's 3-and-out.
And then they score, and they're up 14-0. You're like 2 minutes into the game, which is, by the way, was a complete opposite start from last year's game.
Yep.
So talk about that a little bit.
You know, first of all, I mean, Ravenwood's a really good team. Coach Daniels and his staff do an excellent job. They've got, like I said in the paper last week, man, they've got it all. They've got the offensive line, they got the skilled kids. They're big. Garcia's and Mason, those two connected is unbelievable. There's times that, you know, I thought we had Mason and, of course, Garcia, and, of course, he would scramble for 10 or 15 yards. So, I mean, I hope someone, you know, maybe someone in our league can slow them down, but they're going to be tough to beat. Coach at Blackman, I'm real good friends with him. He's been calling me all week, bugging me about them. I told him they're going to it's going to be tough Friday for them. Maybe
the best game in the state, really.
Yes. It's two top teams in state, two top teams in 6A. Williamson County, Rutherford County. You know, over here, you know, they always say Rutherford County is better than Williamson County football. So we're all pulling for Ravenwood this week.
Absolutely. Talk about this with their team. Not to spend a lot of time on Ravenwood, but you know, people will, I think sometimes incorrectly, will talk about the number of Division I players they have. They've got 5 or 6 legit Power 5 guys, right?
They do, and you can tell. You know, sometimes when you get, I mean, you know, as being in coaching, and you get too many of those, and then egos start getting in the way. I did not see that Friday night. One thing that I was most impressed with watching their team and watching them is, man, how hard they were playing. Like I told my kids, if we ever want to get to that level, they wanted to win every play. Not just the game, they wanted to win, make sure they won every single play. And that was, as a coach to watch, wanting your team to get to that level and play that like that. I mean, it's good, and they're going to be tough to stop.
Coach, this is your 5th year in the league? Fourth year,
yes.
Is that Ravenwood team, I mean, I know it's early in the season, the best team that you guys have played since you've been at Centennial?
I would believe so. I can't, you know, this is a great league. It's a tough league. My first year we were in 5A, and so these past 3 years, counting this year, you know, with 6A, and by far I think they have a complete package.
Yeah. So let's talk about your team. So you're down 28-0, then you get the touchdown pass from Grayson Marcel to Eli Cornett. Ravenwood adds a score. It's 35-7 at the half. And for what you can share with us, Coach, what's that conversation like at halftime? Because really, for all not that you've given up, but for all intents and purposes, they've got it pretty well in hand at that point.
Yeah, I mean, you know, again, not to spend too much time on them. You cannot spot a team like Ravenwood. You know, 28 points. So, you know, big thing we talked about, facing adversity. How are we going to respond? How are we going to handle the second half? Are we going to quit and lay down? Or are we going to fight through it? And I think the majority of our kids did fight through it and finished the game out and did what we asked them to do.
Did you talk about, let's try to win this half? Or let's look at it 0-0?
Yeah,
you know, all those things you do when you're behind?
Yes, and, you know, we talked about, you know, the big thing, let's compete. because you could easily see they could probably put 60 or 70 on us if we didn't come out and play the second half. We did, and we decided we wanted to play. I think, we got some young kids in certain key spots that I felt like early on they didn't know how to handle the atmosphere, didn't know how to handle. They hadn't been in a big game, because you walk out, I don't care how many middle school, ninth grade, JV games you play, even if you're a junior, even if you're a senior, your first year starter, you're walking out and you see Ravenwood's crowd, you see our crowd. It's unique. It's a tough environment to play. You make one mistake. We had a couple kids that first year starters that kind of dropped their head. They didn't respond well, and so that's why they were able to get on us as quick as they did. And like you said, our first series, I think our first two series, we were 3 and out. So it took us a quarter and a half before we settled down and started to play.
Well, and you talked about Ravenwood trying to win every play, which to me makes that 14-14 second half maybe even more impressive.
Yes.
They didn't call the dogs off, so to speak. They kept playing. Second half, 14-14, the Marcel to Kevin Townsell pass, and also the 80-yard touchdown round. Talk about Desmond Smith, because you had him sort of slated to be a wide receiver starting the year, and now you've moved him back to tailback. Talk about that.
So Desmond has always played tailback. And our offense, Coach Glover, his philosophy, he loves to throw the ball. He's pass-oriented, so we wanted to get him in a key spot to try to get him the ball more. As coaches, after evaluating and looking at some things, we moved Desmond back. I believe it was a second scrimmage against Riverdale going into Summit scrimmage. And the second half, when we scrimmaged Summit, and we basically just pounded the ball with him. He is a lot like Jarrell. He can 2 or 3 touches. You don't know. He may go 1 or 2 yards, and he may have the 80-yard run. He's a special young man. Has a special talent. And that 80-yard run, you see him. They pretty much have him tackled, and he spins out of it and finishes the run. For us to be successful this year, we got to get him the ball more. Find more ways to get him the ball. Also, offensively, we had. I think Grayson was 10 for 26, 10 for 27. We had a lot of drop passes. I'm talking about passes that hit our guys in the hand. And again, like Eli Cornett, first year plays a junior, but he didn't start last year. Cannon Plowman played a quarterback. Now he's playing a receiver. Kevin played a little bit slot, but he was a defensive starter. So we lost. Majority of our team last year was a receiving core. And so those guys, that was the first real game, real test. You can say, we had 3 scrimmages leading up. We tried to.
That's not quite the same, though.
Yeah, it's not. You try to do a game like as much as possible, but the crowd, the atmosphere. So, hopefully you saw towards the second half they settled down. Grayson even settled down, and we started playing better. So we're hoping this week. We had a really good couple practices this week. So we're hoping. My key has been we got to relax and have fun. Out of 100, 125 plays, 50 plays, whatever it's going to be, they're not all going to be perfect. How are we going to handle when we mess up? Are we going to get our heads down? Or are we going to keep on grinding, keep on chopping, and do the things that we're supposed to be doing?
Did that second half maybe make for those conversations be a little bit easier and makes you maybe a little bit more prepared to play Smyrna? Because really, you had to feel pretty good about yourself going into the locker room after the game compared to the first half. You wanted to win, of course you did. But that second half obviously was a little different story than the first half.
It was, and defensively we settled down too. So it wasn't just, offense, not moving the ball. It was pretty much all phases. And then that was the key. And so I think the kids realized, man, if we would have played like this in the first half, it might have been different. Not saying we'd have won, but it would have been a lot closer. We'd have been in the ball game. And you never know what would have happened.
So let me ask you this, Coach. With that game, Ravenwood, and let's be honest, that probably doesn't hurt you standing-wise because a lot of people are going to lose that game. They're probably just going to.
Yes.
Do you like to get that one out of the way? Not that you didn't think you could win it, or would you have liked to say, well, let's play a couple other games before we get this one? How do you feel about playing them right off the bat now that it's over?
Yeah. I mean, personally, I would love first 2 games, non-region game, then open up in region play. But it is what it is. We did this, I guess it was 3 years ago. This is, I guess, when we did rescheduling. Coach Daniels was having a hard time finding a game, so he wanted to move it. So I mean, me selfishly, I wasn't gonna say, we got to do it. But it's the way it all fell. The pieces fell, so it is what it is. You got to be ready to play week 1. So now we got to bounce back. We got Smyrna this week, then we have Ravenwood. So have Independence. So we got to be ready for Independence. We can't start off 0-2 in the region. That's tough to climb if that happens.
So you mentioned that, and you talked about that a little bit at Media Day. Compare this to your job at Forest. Is it tougher to schedule here?
It is. It is. We came off a 3-7 season, and you would think people would be calling us. We were calling people. I'm not going to say any names. We called numerous people. Oh, we don't want to play y'all. Well, we're coming off 3-7. We're not. I don't feel like we're going to be as good as we were 2 years ago. My first year here, our kids are younger. I didn't realize it, but bumping from 5A, 6A has been tough for us. I didn't think it would be, but it has been. Depth-wise, at Centennial, we average around 60, 65 kids on the varsity level.
Compared to what at Forest?
Forest, I had 50, 55. So for a 6A team, I feel like our numbers are low. You look at Ravenwood, Brentwood, they average around 100-something kids, and I think Independence numbers are also higher. But that's just the population of school. I knew it going in when I took the job.
The numbers had always been pretty low.
Yeah, there hasn't been as high as other schools. So, not going to make any excuses because I knew before I took the job that had been an issue.
Talk about if you've got 80 guys, though. What's that do for you practice-wise, game-wise, preparation-wise, having 80 guys versus 65 guys?
It helps you with depth issues. Some of our ones are playing scout teams. Some of our ones, especially our one offensive line, one to give us a good enough look that we need each week, they're having to play Scout O. And that's tough. I seriously doubt at Brentwood. I seriously doubt at Ravenwood they're having to do those things. It is what it is. We got great kids. They give us best effort each day. They're doing the best they can, and hopefully, I feel like our biggest issue this year, if we can get this win against Smyrna, give us some confidence going into the Independence game, it'll be great for us.
Talk about this, and I know obviously you're most concerned with the varsity level, but your freshman team had a 35-0 win against Ravenwood. That's got to be a huge confidence builder for them.
It is, and again, I was sitting here talking negative about numbers. This is the first year ever we've had 40-plus freshmen. I believe it's 42 freshmen.
That's compared to what usually?
Last year we ended around 20. It's usually between 20 and 30.
Wow.
So I think my first 2 years was 25, and then last year it dropped down to around 20. But 40, we got 88 lockers sharing varsity and freshmen. So that's a good problem to have.
Absolutely.
That's a good problem to have. And one thing neat about this freshman class, they enjoy practicing, they enjoy competing. So as a coaching staff, it's promising to see a young group like that, seeing them having fun, seeing them be successful. It's the future bright at Centennial.
I can tell you're excited about that group, and we've talked about this a little bit. You want those guys to have confidence and play that freshman schedule, but let's talk about the reality of maybe some of those guys moving up at some point this season to help you out.
Yeah, we got 3 dressing with us right now, and I know we'll add as the season goes. Both quarterbacks, and Sam Cochran and Brennan Jones, both unbelievable quarterbacks. I'll be honest with you, I'd hate to lose either one of them, but they could probably go to another school. If we lost one of them and start. But both of them are competitive. Sam also kicks, so when he's not in the quarterback, he's kicking for us. Then we got Xavion Haddix. He looks like a junior. He does not look like a typical freshman. Plays tailback and plays defensive end for us. So, and I could go on and on. The kids, it might get when they're juniors, even senior years, their junior, senior years, that we may have, hopefully our numbers have grown, and they're playing one way. We're having groups of just focus on offense, focus on defense, and it's promising. Great group of parents. They're highly involved, those freshman parents. So it's real neat. They've done different functions. Because one thing, coming from middle school, we got a couple kids from we got a group from Page, a group from Freedom. So usually you don't see.
And Freedom won that league last year, right?
Yes. So usually you don't see until like midway maybe midway season or even after the season, those kids really, buying in and seeing what's going on. This group doing things and us getting them together early, outside of football, it's kind of brought them together a little bit quicker than we have in the past. And so they're a fun group. So we're, like you said, you can tell I'm excited.
You're very excited.
Can't wait to get them going in the off season and even seeing how they finish the year.
That's great, Coach. Let's talk about this. Media Day, I thought it was real interesting you said this. You were talking about Jariel and what he meant to you guys, obviously. But then you also said something to the effect of, in a lot of ways, it made us too obvious what we were doing. Yeah. Maybe it was too much dose of him and maybe this year it's going to be a little bit different. Although now you're telling me maybe Desmond's going to take on that role. But talk about that a little bit. I thought that was an interesting comment.
Yeah. So last year everybody knew, but, they're going to focus on Jariel. So we're hoping this year with Eli, with Kevin, even Cannon, Johnny at the receiver spot, and then Dez, that there's just not one focus on one player, that we can spread the ball around and make the defensives, they've got a game plan for everyone and not solely just one person. So hopefully those guys will continue to get better, and you'll see it hopefully midway through the next couple games as we're moving forward. So last year I felt like with Jariel, man, you never knew. I know against Brentwood he busted I think it was a 98, 99-yard touchdown, and he could score any second, and then boom, our defense was back on the field. So at times I wouldn't say it hurt us, but it did.
Yeah.
Our defense off the field, we get a stop, and boom, he scores, boom, we're back on the field, and I feel like our defense never had time to recuperate or even discuss with the defensive coach for that to run back on the field. But I guess it was a good problem to have. He's doing well at Austin Peay. Give him a little shout out. They got a game this week, so we're excited for him. He's third or fourth on depth chart at running back, playing some special teams. So we're proud of him. Miss him, but we know Desmond's going to fill his shoes.
One thing I think is really neat about your program. I follow you guys on Twitter, and that relationship doesn't end.
No, it doesn't.
You guys do a great job of that, and I know. We've talked about this before. Slayton Wild, who played for you at Forest. Yes. I talked to Slayton about it, and talked to Coach Wild about it too. And that really meant a lot to him, that it doesn't end for you.
I still stay in contact. When I got to Centennial, Slayton was at Wofford for a couple of years. He came and worked out, and 6 o'clock workouts. He came 2 or 3 times, worked out with our kids, talked to them. So it's just a bond that you have with your guys that lasts forever. It never ends. And so, Jacob Spears, and we got 2 young men that are playing at Birmingham Southern. So I believe it's September. It's like the 3rd weekend of September. They're playing Jacob plays at Rhodes. They play at Birmingham Southern. So they're playing in Memphis. So me and a couple of coaches we're going to head down there and watch them. It's going to be neat to see them face off.
That's not surprising, Coach. Let me ask you this about your offense. Talking about offense a little bit. What's ideally the run pass, the distribution, so to speak?
I'd say around 60-40. I'd say Coach Glover would love a little bit higher, maybe 70-30. He's a what you call air raid guy. So he's past what his philosophy is.
Is he a mummy guy?
Yes, he loves all those guys.
So you're surprised I knew how mummy, aren't you? Kentucky guy, man.
Yeah. So
Mike Leach.
Yes, he's a huge Mike Leach fan. Anytime I go in his classroom during his planning period or study hall class, he's either watching videos of those guys. So he's actually got me. I came from a philosophy when I was at Oakland. Man, we were just going to grind it. We made throw. 2008, we won a state championship game. I think we threw the ball twice. So I love Coach Glover. I love his philosophy, but it was just a total turn for me when I hired him as offensive coordinator.
And you knew that, obviously.
Yeah, I knew it going in, but because he brought him in as a QB guy and knew what he liked, and I always thought it was very interesting. And with our style and with the kids we had, whenever he took over the offense, it's perfect. It still does good. I just think we're young. We're not, no one say as athletic, but we had some key guys in those spots, and if these young guys will figure it out, I think we'll be just as successful as we have been in the past. But he's always studying the game. He's been around. He's a West Tennessee guy. I'm a West Tennessee guy, so we've had a connection. He actually coached against my dad. My dad, former coach of Henry County, when he was at some of the Jackson schools. So it was a little connection there. And so, we always pick at each other, look up West Tennessee scores on Friday nights, and still pick at each other. So it's fun. He was at Humboldt when my dad was at Henry County. So it was neat. Once I hired him on, him telling me some stories that I knew when my dad was coaching. So
that's
neat
great.
Little connection.
And I'm sure with that offense too. I don't think this is totally underrated, but obviously as a high school coach especially, we're going to have to coach who shows up.
Yeah.
We can't go get our own players and all that kind of stuff. But I'm sure the kids really enjoy playing that style.
They do, and it's
Is
fun.
that important? You think?
It is, and again. Guess running it 40, 50 times games, may have kids to think about going other places, but it's keeping them involved, keeping them having fun. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. So having fun throughout the year. So you want to keep their attention. And in practice this week, our Wednesday practice, we were throwing around, and we dropped the ball one time, and so. Just you could tell the kids were having fun and enjoying it, and it just wasn't one person. So it does have an effect on them.
Talk about your defense, obviously led by Alex Steele, Zay Pickens, Forrest Dingler. Talk about what we can expect to see from your defense, not only this week and tonight's game, but also the rest of the year.
We're a 3-4. That's and so this year, studying our previous last year. We're going to, I guess, we base out of a 3-4, but we're going to, I'd say, move more, stunt more, bring more guys just because of our size. We feel like if we can create some pressure, get the offense behind the chains, it'll help us out. Obviously, it didn't help us out on Friday, but moving forward, correcting some things with film. Zay, he's played, first 2 years played safety for us. This year we bumped him down the outside linebacker spot. We feel like he can play a huge role for us. Alex Steele, you look at him, he's unbelievable size, unbelievable potential. He's played inside for us, played outside for us last Friday, so you'll see him bounce around from inside to outside. Forrest Dingler's a young man we got from a transfer student. He has brought, he is
senior.
See this young man flying the football there. You like it when you have to tell a guy, well, you need to slow down in practice, But you see him flying around. He's going to give it 110% at all times. So he's been a huge pickup for us this off season. Our secondary, a lot of those guys are new. Kevin started last year at corner. Our other corner, Leo, first year he's a senior, but it's his first year started for him. So it was tough again. Even though he's a senior, but you get thrown in the fire against Ravenwood. That's tough. So maybe playing 2 non-region games may help him out to prepare him for that Ravenwood. But again, it is what it is. Our safety, we started a junior, and then 2 juniors. Tucker Tremaine played quite a bit last year. Gage Ware, you can tell, great kid, works hard, but you can tell first play of the game, his eyes were this big. So,
Are there some key stats for you defensively that you look at after a game and go, or before, if we can accomplish these 2 or 3, and it's probably
turnovers.
Different. Turnovers, the biggie you talk about?
If we can get...
You don't have a turnover chain over there, do you? Do you guys do that?
No, well, they're trying to do a turnover belt, but, I'm not...
Hey, Nick Saban, you think about Nick Saban, he's very conservative, right? But they've got something like that, don't they?
I believe so.
Is this like this new thing that's happening?
Yes. Everybody wants to do it.
And you're old school going, I don't know about this.
I was my high school head coach was Donnie Webb, and I think he's a little old school, so I think I get that from him.
Hey, listen, we're still trying to get logos on helmets over in Franklin. I don't think we're going to see any turnover chains, do you?
I don't. I wish we had more time because I could talk for another 45 minutes about Coach Webb and some of the things he did when I was in high school.
Hey, by the way, we'll have that chance. I believe you guys are back in here together at some point.
Let's do it. Let's tell old stories.
That'll be the whole conversation that week. All right, let's talk about the game this week. Smyrna coming off a 42 loss. It was their home opener versus East Nashville. They were 7-4 last year. 5-1 in region play, but to me this stat really confirms what you talked about earlier. They had a first round home game last year against Independence, and Independence beats them 33-14. What do you expect to see from Smyrna?
Smyrna's going to run. They're going to run the football.
And how does that set up for you defensively? Is that a strength for you versus the team that throws it, or?
they're not going to throw it around like Ravenwood did last week. I think that helps us. My concern is our size. They're big up front, both sides of the ball. So if we're able, they got a big running back. They also got a kid playing H-back tight end, Dallas Walker. I believe he's committed to Texas A&M. So he's an unbelievable kid. And also plays defensive line. If we're able to slow them down, force them to punt. Keep our offense on the field. Our biggest thing, we're going to have to keep their offense on the field. If they're winning the time of possession, if they're grinding it out, they're going to run the ball. Their percentage, they're going to run the ball first, second, third down. They're only going to throw it when they have to. So if we can put them in situations where they have to throw the ball, it's going to be a success for us. And again, our offense, if we can just don't turn the football over, win the turnover game, win the turnover battle. And I believe even win special teams. Hopefully, I think special teams may be a plus for this week. If we can have one or two big plays on special teams, win offense or defense, I think we'll come out with the victory on Friday night.
Talk about the importance of this game, not only trying to get in the win column here in game 2, but it being a home opener. I'm sure there's a lot of excitement at the school this week.
There has been.
Although last week I'm sure there was a lot too. It's a road game. This is different. Mm-hmm. First home game. Talk about that. Being important to your team.
It's going to be a huge one because it's going to be a great crowd. I'm assuming Smyrna Rutherford County team they're going to bring a great fan base. So it's huge for us to get a home opener win. Not only to build us confidence for next week, but for our home fans. It's what they deserve it. Kids deserve it. They've worked hard all summer. Worked hard leading up to this week. So it'll be huge. Again, for our confidence. We need this for our confidence and our community.
Coach, I'm predicting a Centennial win.
I appreciate that. Hopefully we can pull that out for you.
Good luck, Coach.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.